Today's tips and tricks video is about templates. Templates package a proven analysis pattern so that it can be reused across similar processes without rebuilding every signal, calculation, or view by hand. They define the required inputs, generated outputs, and supporting contexts that make an analysis portable to other similar equipment. In practice, templates help teams scale expert analyses from one single investigation to a governed fleet-wide analytics process. Today we will create and apply a Seeq template for heat exchanger monitoring. The question is familiar. Which exchangers are fouling, which ones are losing heat transfer performance, and where should maintenance look first? This demo will use 20 heat exchangers over 3 months of data, and each asset has similar inputs. You can see those below in the details pane. First, we will build our analysis for HX101 and scale it quickly to HX102. Later on in the exercise, we will scale across many assets through the use of scaling tables. After we've selected our initial test heat exchanger, we can then apply calculations on top of those heat exchanger signals. Those signals may have complex formulas. That's where templates comes to help. Templates will allow us to scale quickly across processes. Let's get into it. We have our calculations completed for heat exchanger 101. Now we need to set up our template to be able to scale this to heat exchanger 102. In the templates menu, you'll see 3 sections. One for the templates that you've created, one for templates that have been shared with you, and one for industry templates that Seeq has designed for you to use specifically for your process and your conditions. Let's start on our first template. Click Create at the top of the page. Then let's rename this template to Heat Exchanger Calcs. Next, it's important to put a description to let others know what your template does. The next thing we need to do is select the outputs that we want to create from our template. Once we've added all of our output items, we can go ahead and click the Add Outputs button down here at the bottom. This adds all of these items as designated outputs for this template specifically. We can go in and look at what the formula is used to calculate those. And we can go also rename these if you want more of a common name for the template output item. After our outputs have been selected, Seeq will automatically generate a list of intermediates that are required to make the calculations for those outputs from the template. And then at the bottom, too, you'll see the list of inputs that are necessary for those outputs as well. In this case, we have very specific names because they were named off of the asset tree itself. We can go back in and redefine these as more generic names. After renaming the inputs, we can scroll down to the bottom, and here we'll find an option called Create and Publish. If you went to Publish, and you only see the button that says Create at the bottom, you are a Seeq Analytics customer, and some of the features that are talked about in this video may not apply on your specific instance. The next step is to take our template and apply it to a new asset. In this case, it is Heat Exchanger 102 from the same asset tree structure. We have all of our signals mapped into the Details pane, and the next thing we'll do is go into the Tools pane and back to our templates. You can see we already have the Heat Exchanger Calcs template that we created last time. It's noted that this is in version 1 right here. To apply our template, we just click on the Heat Exchanger Calcs right here, and we see the template that we created pop up right here. We're going to go ahead and name this. I'm going to name it HX102. And you can see the outputs that we created originally are right here at the top. We also have the inputs available down here, and we're going to go ahead and fill out our inputs from this Heat Exchanger 102 into this template. Once all of the items are added to the input list, you can go ahead and scroll to the bottom and hit Execute. Once this is executed, you can see the new calculations appear in the Details pane. We have 2 conditions here at the top. Then if we scroll to the bottom, we have the 4 signals that were selected as outputs. So you've executed your template application on a new asset, Heat Exchanger 102. In doing so, you realize you forgot one of the parameters that will be extremely important in all of the next heat exchangers that you want to analyze. To do this, we go back to our templates page. And then from there, we can go to our heat exchanger calcs. We'll go to create new draft here. Right now it says editing a draft from V1. If we scroll down, we have the exact same outputs here, but now we have the ability to add a new output from our existing items. So we're going to go ahead and add that fouling resistance. Go ahead and add that output, and you'll see it's noted as a new output. And with that, it's also gone and calculated a new list of inputs that it needs. These are not linked to the original ones, but we can take care of that here. To do so, we just click this Map Existing button right here, and then we can map it to the original signal that was used for the template. I'll go through and do these quickly here. Once we have all the inputs properly mapped to their existing items, we can scroll down to the bottom and hit Lock and Publish. With this, we'll get a notification of what changes were made, so we can see our output fouling resistance was added right here. Once we make this change, it is permanent, so we do have to check this box, specifying that we do know that. Go and lock template. You'll see this template has been updated to version 2 here on the left side in the templates pane. From here, our enterprise customers can also click on the template again and see all of the versions that have been used. So if they wanted to use version 2, they could. They could also revert back to version 1 as well if they only had their inputs required for that. After making a new version, we can see here in the details pane that we have a banner at the top implying that there is a newer version of the template that we have. What we can do is we can click the arrow next to the items, and it'll bring us back into our template screen and allow us to apply version 2 to the heat exchanger that we're looking at here. This will bring in the additional output of fouling resistance. We can go down to the bottom and go ahead and hit execute and get that extra output from that template application. As part of the enterprise package, the other possibility we have templates is the ability to apply them directly to a scaling table. You'll see here, I have a heat exchanger demo scaling table with quite a few heat exchangers with similar signals. And we can go into our templates window and go to our heat exchanger calcs. But instead of clicking on the center of this, we'll click on the 3 dots. We can go down here and apply it to scaling table. Next, we'll select our scaling table and then go ahead and hit save down here at the bottom. We'll get this pop-up here that asks you to apply the template. If we scroll down here, you can see the outputs that we've created with the template itself. And then if we scroll down, we have an input list similar to how we would apply it to a single heat exchanger. We'll go through and select the dropdowns with the corresponding columns from the scaling table itself to apply to the template. Once we have all of our columns from the scaling table filled out in our template, we can go ahead and scroll all the way to the bottom and then hit save. This will apply our template directly to the scaling table. When that save is completed, we can scroll all the way to the right in our scaling table and see the application of the template here. So you can see we have a larger header right here with all of our signals and conditions that were created after the template as subheaders below that. While this scaling table didn't have any missing signals, many real-world situations do have dissimilar sensor setups. Templates follow fallback rules when created from a scaling table and allow you to maintain the benefits of templates while accommodating your reality at your plant. This has been a brief introduction to templates. We walked you through how to create a template from a simple analysis on a heat exchanger, applying that analysis to a different heat exchanger, adding and creating a new version of that same template, and then applying that template directly to a scaling table with many different heat exchangers. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to your analytics engineer or check out the Seeq knowledge base to learn more about templates and their applications and some other cool features that we weren't able to cover today.